Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
All right, man. Good morning. It's Sunday morning, and you know that means it's Meet the Press. No, wait. It's time for the Thoroughly Wrong Project because Meet the Press is two left. Good morning, man.
Morning.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't. Were we on last week? No, no.
No,
Something
I think you
happened.
were out of town.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been doing so much recently. I finally you know how you have like eight things in the future and you're just like, oh my god, how the hell am I gonna pull all this shit off? And I did it. It's November, isn't it? No, it's October. It's October, and all I have left is the movie opening, the movie premiere in Hollywood that I was in, and I think that's it, man. And then I'm good till March. So it's been a busy summer. It was a productive, busy, fun summer.
That's always good.
Yeah, it is, especially in the climate that we live in, the climate of fear and, and negativity. To go out and have a good time in America right now it's like it's almost like miraculous.
That's true. No, yeah, for me, I mean, I'm busy right now with school, uh, but like I had like a bunch of stuff due like last week
Yeah,
and this week, like all around the same time. So I was like extra like stressed about it, but it was like one of those things where it's like a big hump, and then
yeah,
once you get over it, it's uh, like it's more manageable now.
yeah. That's exactly right. I had a big hump of lots of fun stuff to do though, so
Oh yeah, mine weren't fun.
it's still fucking stressful though. And when you're like, I gotta, I gotta go to this three concerts in like 30 days, and that means hotel rooms and gasoline and logistics and food and all that shit. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's over. I mean, I had a good time, and I'm getting ready to do some 100-day life change thing here. It starts tomorrow, but that's pretty easy compared to going to LA. Everything's not on fire anymore. But have you been to you have been to LA recently,
I
haven't you?
went on the 11th. That was the last time I was there.
Yeah, everything's burnt up down in Castaic. Crazy
Like,
looking.
oh, is there? I
Yeah,
remember, well, when I went, they were doing like construction like in that area
yeah,
on the freeway.
yeah.
And
That's
actually, when I was coming back, I had to like detour all the way through like Tehachapi and shit.
really
Yeah.
okay. That was
Like they
right.
closed the freeway.
Okay, that's right after that big fire in Castaic, and it caught the road on fire.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty destructive. At least it's not like Hurricane Ian or anything like that. But it's you know, fires are unpredictable, but not like that fucking hurricane that just ripped through and killed all those people and
Is there
destroyed
like
everything.
any place that's like free from like natural disasters here in the United States? Because like we have like earthquakes and, you know,
Hmm.
other places have like tornadoes and hurricanes. Like, where's that state that's like least prone to natural disasters?
Um,
It's probably one of those like flyover states.
no, really
Probably like
though.
Montana. Well, but they get like winter storms and
Yeah,
stuff, so
they
I don't
get
even
winter
know.
storms like 20-foot snow drifts and shit like that. So I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Like you want to say Washington and Oregon, but they get a lot of rain.
Yeah, but I mean that's not really like a natural disaster, you know.
Yeah, so Oregon, Washington but then you have to deal with homeless people because that's where the largest
I mean
concentration of
that's
homeless
like
people is.
everywhere. I'm used to that, so
I'm not laughing because homelessness is funny. I'm just laughing because it's America's on fire. I mean, metaphorically, we're on fire right now. And we're not even stop and drop to roll. We're running through a field, setting everything else on fire. You know.
yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Did you see the gas prices are going back up?
Yeah,
It's always funny how they go up very fast, but they come down very slow.
right.
You know. And I was reading at first. I thought it was because of the hurricane, because I know like stuff like that can cause issues with like the supply chain and stuff. But I was reading that there's actually like some refinery issues going on somewhere in the states. I forgot where
Supposedly,
the
it's the change. It's a maintenance on one of them, and then the changeover from the summer gas to the winter gas.
I think that's BS. Like summer gas and winter gas. What does that even mean? Oh, the blend's different. Like,
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's the same shit. If it was that different, like your cars would like they'd notice. Like because there's some cars like that could only take like 93 or
right,
like 91.
right.
And then if it's that different of a blend or whatever they want to call it, like your car could like fuck up or
It's not.
or it'll act
It's
differently at the very least.
this has been going on since 1976, dude. I mean, prior to 1976, I know I was a child, but if you look at historically, in 1976 was our first big gas shortage, and I totally remember it. And gas was like 75 cents, 78 cents, and 75, and then it went to a dollar. And then when it went to a dollar, there was something that happened, and there was a gas shortage in the summer of 76, and people were lined up fucking miles, man, to get gas. And it was really scary. It was like the first time in America that we didn't have the land of plenty rolling for us. And ever since then, shortly after that, I started to drive, and ever since then it's been this weird, goes up really fast, drops really slow, goes up really fast, and then it's this stair stepping of, what we have now, $6. So
Yeah.
it took decades to do it, but they're not going to stop. And I just, ever since I've been a driver, I've had to deal with shit like this, and you just get used to it. You're just like, well, I paid dollar, now I'm paying two, and then I paid three and four and five and six, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the winter blend. Come on,
Everybody knows that.
everybody knows that.
No, yeah, it's. I just think it's funny how it always goes up like overnight, like 35 cents,
Uh
35,
huh.
40 cents. But then it takes like a month to come down like 15, 20 cents.
Yeah, but do you still have that 10 to 15 cent gain?
And it's funny, like, what is barrel like? What's the cost of a barrel right now? It's like $80 now. It's like hovering around there,
Yeah,
and it's like that makes no sense because it's been $80 in the past, like multiple times.
right.
And what was gas back then? So like just by looking at that, like you could tell like where they're trying to fill in that gap from like because I know a bunch of like oil companies lost like a ton of money during like 2020 and COVID.
Right.
Um,
No one was driving.
right. So they're kind of just like making it up, like trying to make up for it. But that means like inflated, overinflated prices,
Right.
fully like based in greed. It's not like gas super is like super expensive or anything like that.
That just sounds that just sounds comical, dude. To me, it's like it's fully based in greed. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There is no other explanation for it. If 5 years ago gas was, or oil was $80 a barrel, and gas was three something, right around three, and today it's $80 a barrel, and now
Yeah.
gas is six. Like, gas is like doubled in price, but the oil still costs the same. And you're right. It's like anybody with, you don't even need a degree in finance. You just need to go
Common sense.
common sense. Those three fucking facts right there is all you need. It
Yeah.
doesn't
And
make
that's
sense.
the real like trickle down right there
Hmm.
because you know every like everybody needs gas. And
Yeah.
not just like people like you and me, but like you know uh like shippers, like those freaking uh trucks, like
Hmm.
semis,
Yeah,
so everybody's paying more for gas, which means their profit margin is smaller, which means in turn they charge more for their products, and it creates like this that's how you get inflation. But
yeah,
it's artificial inflation. It's not like true and like real or normal inflation.
yeah. It's not like capitalism should work. I mean, seriously, capitalism could work if they were abiding by the not rules, but
Capitalism would only work if people were pure, like, good.
yeah, exactly. It's like
But then again, if people were pure good, they wouldn't adopt capitalism to begin with. So it's kind of a catch 22.
well, if people were pure good, what would we be doing?
Mm,
You
living
know,
life to the
living life,
fullest
baby.
extent. It's like they say, I always like to say, how people say that God is all knowing, all powerful, and all good. And it's like, if he was, then there wouldn't be any human suffering.
Right.
Because if he's all powerful, he would be able to end suffering. And if he's all good, he would he would know, like if he's all good, then he would decide to end all suffering. And if he was all knowing, he would know when people were going to do something bad and stop it because he's all good.
He's busy, man. He's busy finding your people's car keys. I don't. I, I have no. Let me back up here. I got to think about how I say this carefully because I have a friend now. His name's Roland, and Roland is a devout Christian, and he's actually taught me. It's just people's belief systems, it doesn't matter if it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. If it comforts people, then that's what it needs to be. I mean, if it turns violent, like, Islamophobia and shit like that, that's a problem. But I don't think Christianity at its base, like the Christianity of my grandmother, I don't think that's dangerous. I think it comforts people.
I saw this video that was talking about, like, if you were to see somebody like in the middle of the street, like you're just taking a walk down down the street, and you see someone like drop to their knees and like raise their hands up to the sky and start like praising, like just like some random thing, like the moon god or whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, like, let's say you see that here in like Bakersfield. What do you think would be most people's reaction?
Oh, that,
They're
it's
crazy.
he's crazy.
Yeah.
Call the
But then
Rome
that
team.
same person could do the exact same thing and then like praise God, and all of a sudden, like, oh, he's just like a Christian.
He's a Christian. He's a devout
And
Christian. Not
it's
only is he a Christian, he's a devout Christian.
yeah, so it's kind of funny how we interpret things that are, they're exactly the same thing, same action, same thing, but the way we interpret it based on like um, how we see things,
Right.
it's crazy to me. Because I mean, religion is it. I mean, any religion, it's purely like belief.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. To me, it's that concept. Like, now that I'm older, like that concept of religion is like wild to me.
Well, I get it. I
And
get
like
it.
how it started, like I understand how it started because, you know like early civilizations, like, they didn't know much when it came
Right.
to like science and stuff like that. Even like what I think it's the Jewish. What's the religion that doesn't eat pork? Is it
Yeah.
the Jewish?
Yeah. Judaism.
uh, yeah, like a lot of people believe that that stemmed because people back then didn't really know about like trichinosis and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That you're supposed to cook pork like a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. or else you'll get you sick, you know?
Right.
So what probably happened was people were eating pork, but they weren't cooking it right and they were getting sick. But they didn't know that. So they interpreted it as, eating pork is bad because, you know, God doesn't want you to eat pork because
It
you get
makes
sick every time you do.
He's making you sick to
So you're
tell
not
you.
meant, so we're not meant to eat pork. So it's like little things like that.
Well, and then you fast forward 5,000 years into the future, and pork is really bad for you. Triglycerides, fat, all the things that bacon is. Bacon tastes wonderful. I'll give you that. Chocolate covered bacon, holy shit, that's like amazing when you're high. But so it's still bad. But you're right. A lot of religion is based on outdated. We didn't know science, and I get it. I still get the systems of control. Politics is the same way, money's the same way, capitalism is the same way. These belief systems that we have, they're based solely on the belief system. It's like it's circular. It's I believe in the Bible, and I run my life because of the Bible. And when things are bad, I go back to the Bible. And when things are good, I go back to the Bible. It's a way. I think it's a way of almost accepting that we don't have control of our own destiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't. I mean, at any moment we live with this existential fear, and uh, not everybody will admit it, but deep in the human brain is this fear of the unknown, of death, because we're all going to die, and we all know we're going to die. Even a fucking child knows it's going to die. So we grow up under this. We age under this fear of the inevitable. And the inevitable is very scary. And when you can't say, I'm going to go be with Jesus, or I'm going to go be with my 100 virgins, or whatever it is, then life's pretty fucking scary, man. And when you come to that, when you come to the realization that scary is just scary, and you, you, you have to, you have to accept the unknown. You have to accept the unknown in order to get away from religion, man.
Yeah. And I mean, you kind of have to accept it as unknown,
Yeah.
because that's what, at the base of it, that's what religion is like trying to rationalize and make people understand things that we don't understand, at least not yet.
Yeah. I don't
um
think we'll ever understand what happens after death.
um I don't know, I feel like there's some crazy things that we thought we'd never understand that we do now, like especially if you go back like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody, like, if you were to go back to like ancient Egypt and you'd be like, hey, I could talk to somebody halfway across the world, like in real time.
I could
They'd be
talk to
like,
somebody halfway to the moon in real time.
or I could even go to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I
that, like their minds would explode.
no,
So,
they would kill you for being a witch.
well, after that, so it's one of those things where, like, even now thinking about things that are like that seem like crazy impossible, like uploading your consciousness to like a USB drive. You know,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen at some point. Like the whole like Futurama bit where like your head's in a jar and stuff like that.
The brain in a vat. There's a philosopher, I can't remember his name, who argued that we're just a brain in a vat. That's it. And everything is input into us. This isn't really happening. Our brain just exists in a place, and it's being fed like the Matrix. What if that's true? Does that make life less?
Wait, say that again.
He said we're a brain in a vat, like we're in the Matrix. We're just this brain hooked up to a computer or whatever you want to say, that's being fed data. But this isn't
Hmm.
really happening. The brain in
Oh,
the
okay.
vat experiment.
Or have you ever heard of the universe rubber band theory?
No.
That it's this theory that basically the universe, like, um, you know how we had like the Big Bang. It was like a huge, like
Yeah.
explosion, I guess, and then everything came from that.
Hmm.
The theory is that the universe is, like, the name implies, like a rubber band, where you have the Big Bang, and um, everything explodes outwards, but it gets to a certain point, and then it just comes right back in,
Okay.
and almost like snapping back in, like a
It
rubber band.
contracts. It
Yeah,
expands and
and
contracts
it
and
just
expands and
like
contracts.
infinitely does that, but everything's the same every single time, and that's why people have things like deja vu,
Uh-huh.
because everything you've done and everything you've ever done, you have been doing, like it's happened already an infinite amount of times, and it will continue to happen an infinite amount of times, because the universe is just like a big, like, rubber band that just snaps back and forth in exactly the same way.
Well, that I could go with part of that. I mean, I can see part of it being realistic, where it would expand so far, and then as it begins to cool from the explosion, as the explosion dies down, it begins to cool, and everything that cools contracts. That's physics. So, but I don't see it happening the same way every single time. That because I kind of happen to believe in chaos theory, that this is just happening. I mean, there is no rhyme or reason to it, and we can't predict what's going to happen outside of um, you know tracking the sun or the Earth going around the sun and simplistic things like that. But as far as 100,000 years from now, no way. We don't know. Couldn't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it's one of those things we don't fully understand.
So
But
everybody that's alive now has been alive however many times.
yeah, it's kind of crazy if you think about it that way.
Yeah, but Lalo, where did the rubber band come from?
Huh?
Where did
Oh,
the
that came
rubber
from
band
God.
come from?
The
Is God doing one of those butterfly things with the rubber band? Where he puts it in his hands and does all the finger things, and look, a rubber band, look, a butterfly.
No, so yeah, it's I think when you start thinking of like grandiose things like that, um, it's very easy to like, well, depending on how you view things, it's very easy to, one, like, scare yourself, and it's very easy to like realize that, like, nothing matters.
Well, nothing, dude. After almost 60 years of this, and looking at 25, 30 of them in philosophy, I'm beginning to see that it doesn't. It doesn't matter, and people take that wrong. I mean, you can. I remember a couple decades ago, I was dating a girl, and I told her, I believe that this is all meaningless, and she fucking flipped out. I mean, she broke up with me. It was a big, it was much more complicated than what I'm describing, but in the end, it was, I didn't think life was meaningful, and she did, and that caused her to leave me because she was like, I don't want to deal with that. That's the darkest thing I've ever heard. But I feel like, dude, and I hope I can get this out so you can understand it. I feel like the only real freedom that a human being can experience is coming to the conclusion that this is all meaningless, and I'm making my own choices, and nothing is controlling me, and I'm not being a good person because there's the eye in the sky or God, or I'm afraid of my own destiny, my own death. But there is true freedom in saying that life is meaningless. That doesn't mean I'm going to be an asshole. That doesn't mean I'm going to become a serial killer or a bad person. That simply means that I don't see any grand overarching meaning to this life. It's just happening, and I'm experiencing it, and this is random, it's chaotic, and here I am. So when I try to tell people, if you are in a religion, if you are in a, if you dedicate your life to whatever, you're being controlled by something else. your thoughts are guided by the Bible or by the Quran, or
I
that's
think
not
it's a
freedom.
lot of it is a fear,
Yeah.
fear
It,
of being wrong. Like, what if there is an afterlife?
yeah.
And what if, I do have to suffer like for eternity because I didn't live my life this way?
When I was a pastor of a church, I used to tell people that it's better to err on the side of caution and serve God. I really did tell people that.
Yeah, that's like a thing that they preach.
Yeah, even if we're wrong, it's better to be wrong and live the life that God intended for you.
And what I always find interesting is like if it was really like that, uh, and there's so much writing on living life the correct way,
Hmm.
whichever way that may be. Um, like why would God place so much importance in us having to believe in Him without any like concrete evidence that He exists?
Right, right. And then back that up with scriptures like um, hope. Hope. Faith is the evidence of things not seen.
Right? Because like think about it, like if it's such a big deal, like if it's that huge of importance, like if I told you, hey, um, if you wear a red shirt today, you're gonna get hit by a bus and die. Don't wear a red shirt. And like if someone was to tell you that, they'd be like, you'd be like, what?
Right.
And they were very like persistent, like you have to not wear a red shirt or you will get hit by a bus today. And as you're putting on your red shirt, they're like begging you, like, don't wear this red shirt. Like you're gonna need some kind of like
Evidence.
evidence, and then that's always when they hit you with God works in mysterious ways.
God
Like
works in
that's such a
mysterious
cop out
ways.
answer. Like you could literally say that shit for anything. I always think that's like the dumbest answer for any like religious question. Like, oh, God works in mysterious ways.
That that one and the one I used before were the two that kind of really getting a hold of faith is the evidence of things not seen. That really bothered me when I got into philosophy because that doesn't make any sense. It's the evidence of things not seen. That's like going to a murder investigation and saying, "I listen, guys, you can't see the evidence that I have, but this guy did it. The evidence just isn't there. It exists in a plane that you can't understand." So you're dedicating your entire life to an idea based in your own fear. And if you could get a hold of that as a Christian, what am I doing here? Why am I nice because I'm nice, or am I nice because I'm afraid I'm going to be punished? And that changes your whole psychological view of yourself. It's like, am I a nice person? And you don't want to fucking ask those questions if you are not, uh, use the word lightly, if you're not enlightened to your own psyche and your own habits and your own, what drives you, and all you have is I have faith in God, and that's evidence of things not seen, and God works in mysterious ways. That's fucking scary, dude. That's not fear. That's not freedom. That's just fear of cowering in a corner, and I'm not going to think my way out of this, because if I come to a certain point in those thoughts that I have to reject God, it's like, I tell you what, dude, when I rejected Christianity, it was like a giant void got, sucked out of my mind, and I was left with this. I don't know what's real anymore. I have no idea. So,
Yeah.
and then you have to rebuild your entire existence of raising your kids and being married, and what am I going to believe in, and do I have to believe in something? And religion is so pervasive in people's lives that it is the only thing that they can justify everything else on. And that's what I did. And when I rejected religion, I rejected all my friends, I rejected my family, I rejected a way of life. I had to move to get away from it. It was so scary to walk through life for a few years thinking God's not real and I don't know what is real.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, it could also be very like, not contradictory, but like conflicting, because you could have like you can have two different people, and one can say, um, like you can make a statement about anything, and then the other person could make the same, like the opposite statement. Like I'm trying to think of an example. Uh, like let's say you kill somebody, right?
mhm,
Uh, Most people would say like, oh, that's wrong. Like that's not only is it illegal, but it's like morally wrong to kill somebody. Um, and then that person could just say, well, God came to me and told me to do it. And it's
yeah,
like if you're truly like a religious person, who are you to question the word of God? You know?
right.
And then
I,
they, oh,
this happens.
God would never tell you to kill somebody. I mean, God works in mysterious ways.
And then we have a problem.
Yeah. See, and that's how easy it is, or how simple it is to like just like throw everything off the rails.
Well, here's the thing that the rest of that passage, the beginning of that passage that I cited about faith is it talks about hope, and it says fa- faith is the evidence of things hoped for. The evidence faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So we have this substance of hope and evidence of things we can't see. So there's these metaphysical, metaphorical, allegorical things that people believe in, and you can, like you said, somebody murders someone, and then all of a sudden there's all these Bible passages we're going to back it up with, but then the same passages someone else can say, well, no, that's not what that means. And then we turn to these pastors, these people that we trust, who could be just shysters, because I've seen a lot of them, and they tell you what it means, and you don't even read the fucking Bible yourself. You just sit in the pew and go, okay, that's for this week. That's what I'm going to believe this week. So it is a pervasive, infectious. It infects your fucking mind. I remember when I got saved that all these things came together to change my mind that God was real, but it was from a manipulative pastor of a small church who had these um, he wanted to build his church, so he was trying to get money, and it was this crazy thing. I got sucked into a cult, and that's hard to admit at 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 any point in anyone's life, to say, you know what, I got duped, and I got duped fucking hard, man. I give my money and my life and my time and my whole life for about 3 or 4 years. And my wife at the time, my first wife, she grew up in the church and then got, you know, she backslid or whatever you want to call it. And then when I started talking about it, she said that was a sign from God, and it just spiraled into this thing that all of a sudden it got freaky, man. And then I was preaching and telling people what to do, and in the back of my mind I was always like, is this fucking real? Is this can't be real. It doesn't make any sense. Then I went to college. Then I got into philosophy. Then I got divorced because shit just fell apart when you base your whole life in that mindset, in that I don't even know what to call it. It's just a cult, man. And all of a sudden you take it away, and everything you believed before is wrong, and everything you believed during is wrong, and everything you just doubt everything. And I see how it really fucks people up, and I've seen it a lot of times. So I'm not a big fan of religion, but when religion isn't, you know, the the all in of your life, if it's just a belief system and you're like you go to church and all that stuff, and that's fine. That's no religion's like fucking football, Lalo. You know, you sit down and you watch football, you learn about football, you learn the facts and the dates and the quotes, and you do all that shit because you like football. And you go to work, you talk about football. You go to your friend's house, you talk about football. That's cool. Religion's the same way. You hang out with people that are religious, you go to religious institutions to get your fill, that's your stadium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody has these things in their life, and for some people, it's God. I
For a
don't,
lot of people, it's
for
gone.
a lot of people, yeah, but as time goes on, America becomes more and more secular. But the thing is, the thing that's happening is as we become more secular, the people that really believe are becoming more and more crazy, violent, shut ins. If you go to Truth Social, and I know that's an extremist group, dude. Seriously, if you're on Twitter and you start reading the threads, there's some crazy assholes in there. Go to Truth Social and start reading. If you want to know about this Christian right movement, it's there. It's fucking crazy, man. I can't describe to you. I sent you that prayer. Did you read that?
Uh, I didn't read the whole thing. Was it the
Yeah.
second one?
Yeah. It talks about, let me pull that up, man.
I think because you sent it when my internet was down, so it
Dear,
like didn't even
it,
load.
it's triumphant God. This is some he called that writer of a book, Maggie Haberman. He called her Maggot.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody sends this from the American Prayer Center. Triumphant God, we pray that you protect this flock of prayer patriots and our shepherd, President Trump. The forces of evil persecute us for loving you. Give us the strength to stand against them in your name and be led by the anointed shepherd, President Trump. Banish the forces that deny your chosen president his rightful place so that America may be made prosperous and godlike again. Help us make America reflect your perfect love. Amen. That's insane, dude. That's insane and scary. The further America moves away from religion, it leaves this core group of people who are so afraid of an idea that doesn't include God that they'll begin to do things like this, what's happening now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is dangerous. Donald Trump is dangerous. And I don't think either one of them are truly religious. I think that they are capitalizing on the craziness of the religious right.
No, yeah, it's and like you said, the United States, as time goes on, is getting less and less religious, and I think that's one of the reasons why people kind of, you know, um, like tend to go to these extremes because in their eyes, like the world's like ending,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
all these like atheists are like gonna take over, and all these people with like blue and purple hair are gonna
yeah.
tell them what to do, and all these like crazy beliefs that they have, they're like all coming true.
Well, as you got it, like I'm going to back up and I'm going to say it again. I understand. I truly understand the fear that these people live in, which I lived in it, the fear of God, the fear of wrath, the fear of burning alive forever drives them to these belief systems. It's like, well, I got to give 10% of my, uh, I got to give 10% of my wages. I have to go to church 3 times a week. I have to abstain from using profanity. Even if I look at another woman with a little bit of, I'd like to touch her boob, you know, you're going to hell. It's all these, they pick out all these power trip scriptures, like Jesus supposedly said, if a man looks at a woman with lust in his heart, he's already committed adultery, and that leads to thou shalt not commit adultery, and that leads to you're going to hell just by simply thinking about an impure thought. And I put air quotes around impure. Just by thinking these thoughts, you're going to hell. So you got to, let's say, an uneducated population who this is their way out of poverty, Lalo. This is their way out of the pain they're in. This is the way out of the shitty life that they live, because they're going to die someday and they're going to party in heaven, and they're going to dance on the fucking bodies of the blue-haired people. And that's the way they think. And when you take that away from them, they don't have anything left. They have nothing left. They can't think outside that box anymore. So as the blue-haired, like you said, people with facial tattoos and nose piercings, and as they pervade our society, and they're behind the counters everywhere, and you can't even go get a fucking hamburger anymore without seeing somebody with blue hair. And it gets scary that the division is so great now. I don't see how we're ever going to get it back. They've come out of the fucking woodwork in the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it's pushing them like more and more radical, you know,
Yeah,
because to them it's like to them it's like real life.
yeah, it is their life. It is real life to them. That's what I wish you could. I wish you could sit down with these people and show them, like historically what's happening to you has happened over and over and over again. We're talking about the Crusades were the same way. Fear drove people to kill other people and torture other people to death until they accepted Jesus Christ, and then they killed them. Well, they accepted Jesus, so now we'll just go ahead and kill them and they can go to heaven. It was like doing them a favor. And then we got the Crusades, and then we've got all these down through time. Islam has bastardized into something that they'll blow up. They'll blow themselves up to save themselves. So crazy, dude. And you want to tell Christians, like, this is happening here. This is the beginning of the end for your religion, and something, there'll have to be a radical societal shift in order to accept that. Like, we're going to have to become like Iran, or where they're beating women to death for not wearing the right fucking headscarf. And you want to tell them, don't do this. Don't take a fairy tale and believe it so much that you will murder another human being for not wearing her headscarf right. But you can't tell them that, because that's also the enemy of God, not doing it right while they're going down the same path.
Yeah, it's a very like a scary outlook when you put it that way.
Yeah, yeah,
But I do think they are like I do think that like level of extremism is the minority. Like, don't get me wrong, there's tons of like religious people and stuff like that, but like to that level, I think it's very much still the small minority, you know.
yeah. It's the minority.
At least here in the United States.
Yeah, because entire countries are run on those theological concepts.
Yeah, there's entire like constitutions that are based on religion.
Right. And if you look at ours, it's kind of that way.
Well, I wouldn't say it's based on religion. Like it has, um, I don't even think it has like religious like themes because they're very like broad, like be good and like don't kill and like all these freedoms. Like they're like freedom of speech is in the Bible, you know.
Right.
Um,
It's Definitely not in the Bible.
So it's like a lot of people always like to say like that the Constitution's based on like Christian principles, but it's like I don't think they're Christian principles as much as they are just like being a good person, like principles, you know.
Right.
And those aren't things that you exclusively need to be Christian to like understand or to accept or to follow.
Well, wouldn't that be smart? Wouldn't that be like writing the Bible? You can take pieces of the Bible and you can interpret them different ways. You can take pieces of the Constitution and do the same thing because God's all over the Constitution, man. And I don't think that our Constitution is dangerous. Not like I'm sure, like Iran, they have in their Constitution some crazy, crazy shit about religion and this headscarves and chopping your hands off and all that. God, all that weird stuff. I just, I don't want to get into this conspiratorial uh, thing that I keep getting drawn to. Like religion is dangerous because I have a lot of religious friends. I have a lot of religious coworkers, and people in that when they say things, I just let it go because they're allowed to say things like, "I'll pray for you." And the other day, I found out I found out I have skin cancer, and I got to go get it cut off, and they're concerned about where it is and all this shit. And I told a friend of mine, and he was like, "Well, let me pray for you right now." And we're in public, and so he drops his fucking head and starts praying, and that's cool. I let it go, but I'm just concerned for us because of the minority that you talked about. And the minority is dangerous, dude. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is dangerous. She said last night that Republicans are being hunted and killed right now for their belief systems. Did you know that?
I mean, I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised she said that.
She said it at a rally, and I I can't even make a final point about this, dude, because it's so when you read the news and hear the news and talk to people, and it just seems that we're all caught in this vortex of politics and religion at this point. And like I said, historically, when that happens, that can go in the wrong direction real fast, depending on who's in power. So if we bring these people back into power, if we let Trump back into power, and I'm not saying he's the one that I'm not saying he's the one that's the religious problem. It's the religious right that believes in him and he manipulates them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's smart enough to say the religious people will follow me wherever I go, and he will say radical shit to them and they will buy it. And understands I don't think he understands history, that what he's doing is fucking dangerous. He's just after the power, like the popes were after the power, and that's caused the that causes a lot of problems. I don't know, like millions dead, whatever, right?
Yeah. No, it's a, I don't say scary, but it's concerning to say the least, I guess.
Yeah. The opposite end of it is also scary. Putin, with his threats of nuclear war, he has no God in his life, and then he looks at the people with God in their life and derides them, and then the people with God in their life look at him and denounce him because he doesn't have God. So we got this whole thing. It's like the God is the pivot point of everything, and he's simply an idea. And I'm not saying God isn't real. I have no clue if God is real or not. I can't. It's impossible. All I have is The evidence of things not seen. Well, I'm not convinced. Okay. I'm not convinced. And I hope that someday that we can break away from this. And I was talking to my wife last night, man, it would be so easy if people would just do what you and I have talked about for the years now we've been online. It's you just have to be reasonable. That's it. That's it. Just be reasonable. Just be accepting of other people's belief systems, and that way nobody feels threatened. No, you're not, I'm not threatening Christians. I'm not threatening Islam or Buddha or Taoism or any of your belief systems. I'm not a threat because I see the truth in Islam. I see the truth in Christianity and Buddhism and Taoism. I see the truth in witchcraft, man. You know, it's just people of like minds getting together and pacifying themselves of from the idea that there is the possibility of you're just going to wink out of existence one day, man, and all the things that you have done don't fucking matter. So when you're operating under the belief system that your life does matter and you're making a difference and all your suffering and all your pain and sickness and all that's going to go away and you're going to get rewarded because you were a believer, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why people are so like devout and stuff is because of that, like almost that realization, that like you said, you're gonna just wink out of existence one day,
Yep.
and like you know nobody knows what happens after that.
Well, hopefully they can download me into USB and I could keep on going. But that's
Because even
my
like to me that's like that thought, and I've thought about it like multiple times. Like what happens when you die, like what happens to like your consciousness.
Mhm.
um and to me that thought is like terrifying, like that nothing happens and you just like never like it's like you close your eyes and just never wake up.
Right.
And like to me, like I said, to me that's kind of terrifying because like you just like that concept, like to grasp, it's very hard like for someone that's been conscious for 20 something years. So
Right.
it's I understand why people like cling on to these beliefs of like there's an afterlife, because I mean if they didn't, like I'm sure people would go crazy,
Well, they do.
and they would like consume them, and they go crazy in other ways now instead. But yeah, it's the unknown is very scaring, like by nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're we're scared of going into a dark room.
yeah.
So it is a frightening concept. Or it used to be. But I've spent like the last 20 years getting used to the idea that a very Buddhist thought, you're going to die and that's going to be it. It doesn't matter. Live this life right now. And when you are angry and negative and all this stuff, you are wasting valuable time. It's like going to a concert and putting in, noise canceling headphones. You're there, but you're not participating. And we should participate in this life as much as we can. And I'm not saying it's not this 1960s, free love and all that stuff. It's like everybody just be fucking reasonable here. Just don't let homelessness happen. Don't let needless suffering happen. Don't kill your brother. Don't do this shit that we're doing right now. But we've never been that way. There's only been small pockets of people who live like that. And I'd like to live in that culture, but I guess I would get bored. Would be boring without President Trump.
Sometimes boring is good.
Oh man, I wonder. Are you off on the journey you're now yourself? The
Am I
journey
off?
of that journey of oh fuck. What if this is it? What if the world, everybody got that epiphany all at once? What if this is it?
There'd probably be like chaos. But I mean, I think most people, I think, you know what? I think even like the most devout religious people at one point have said or have thought, like, what if I'm wrong?
Yeah,
You know? Um, so I think that thought just like creeps into everybody's head at some point or another.
you do know
I can
that's
imagine.
Satan
I
though,
can
right?
imagine. I can imagine, especially like as you get older, like, and death is more like, not,
Looming.
yeah, more looming. But I mean, death is looming for anybody because you could die at any point.
Right.
But it's kind of it's. I think death is more associated with like old age and like that's how everybody wants to go.
Yeah, that's best
Super
case
old.
scenario.
Yeah. So I'm sure. I don't know, but I think at that point in life, you also have a different perspective that I'm just not aware of right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I was 18, I didn't have the same perspective that I do at 28. So I'm sure at like 58 or 68 or 78, um, my perspective will also be a lot different and how I perceive life.
Yes, sir. That's why I love this podcast and I love doing a podcast with you because we do have differing world views and experiences and cultures even. But in the end, everybody shares that we're all going to die. You and I both share it, and I'm closer. So my perspective of looking at it, like it's getting bigger, even though I know it's like that car accident should have killed me. I should have been killed at least 3 times in my life that I can think of right off the top of my head that I should be dead. So, but I'm not, but I'm going to be. And that thing on that ship on the horizon keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you begin to make it out, I think. And the closer it gets, the more you can make out details of it and things like that. And I have this very weird, like, acceptance of it. And I think when you talk to an 80-year-old or a 90-year-old, I think they have a more than an acceptance of it. It's more like the inevitable, you know?
Yes, I think
So,
at that point your perception of life changes. And I mean,
yeah.
I think also a lot of people like at that age, and in that stage of life have that, um, it's like almost like they've accepted it, and they're like at peace with it of what's looming, like you said.
Hmm.
And I think, I mean, like I said, I don't think I'm there yet in the like state of mind, but I can imagine like part of what they care about at that point is like what they leave behind, but not in a like bad way, but like in a, like, did I do a good job of, being happy or like, raising my family? Like I can
Yeah.
imagine if you're like super old and like, you had a, good life and you had kids, grandkids, and they're very like stable and they're doing good and they're happy. I can imagine that brings somebody like a lot of joy,
Yeah.
like at the end,
A lot of
knowing that,
peace.
yeah, knowing that everybody that they're gonna leave behind will be okay, you know.
Yeah. I I hope I want to go out like that, but the reality of the situation is like in my family, my father and I wish he would sit down and listen to this. And my father is doesn't talk to his daughter, doesn't talk to his son, is miserable, has his whole life spent trying to figure out how to be successful and is not. and he's 85, I think 86, and he's the last time I talked to him, he was starting to talk about religion for the first time in his life. It it's that fear that he has, like you said, he doesn't have a peace of mind about he did a good job. He didn't do a good job. Everything that he ever tried to build is turned to shit on him, and that's sad. But what do you do at that point? I guess you turn to God, because that's what he's doing. He's trying to get that
Oh, yeah.
forgiveness and
There's
trying to
no one
get
else
that.
to turn to at that
There's
point.
Yeah, you can't call up your kid and say, you know what, I'm proud of you. You can't call up your daughter, and who has, I think she has 3 kids. I have 5. He has kids, grandkids that he's never seen. So the sad part about this whole thing is the unknown. If we would, if we could have the perspective of an 88-year-old man or 85-year-old man about the unknown and about death, I think we would live our lives a whole hell of a lot differently. And that's what I'm trying to do, Lalo. I'm trying to treat people better. I'm trying to be more understanding. I'm trying to do all those things that I see that the world needs. And it's really hard to flip your mindset around to I I I don't have a real reason other than it feels like the right thing to do to treat people better. Is that a reason? Because it feels right?
Yeah, I would say that's a reason.
Well, then religion, we have to say. Religion feels right to a lot of people.
But also, just because it feels right doesn't mean it is right. Like being good to people because it feels right, like that doesn't like hurt anybody, you know?
Yeah,
If you're over
right.
here being like a religious like zealot and like hurting people because it feels right to you,
Right.
then it becomes an issue.
Well, it also becomes an issue if you go completely the opposite way and you drop out of society and get a tambourine and sit in the street with a hat on and talk about how good God is and all that. And you, there,
But see, I don't mind
everything's,
people like that because, like I said, they're not hurting anybody.
well, yeah,
And my
that's
big thing
true.
is like I don't mind any like religious person or like religious belief as long as it doesn't one like push all that onto somebody else like by force
Right.
or two like hurt anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my daughter and I came up with our own religion in early 2000s. And there was only like 3 rules, man. And it was like the very first one was don't hurt anyone. And the second rule was if you're hurting someone, refer to rule 1. You know,
What was the third rule?
I don't remember. I still have it written down. But if we just came to the middle and went with that Eastern philosophy of yin yang, light dark, all the things that we are, these binaural creatures of, we don't understand up because we have never seen down. We have to have opposites to understand concepts. Stop, go, up, down, left, right. There's so if we could deal with you know understanding the concepts of being good and being bad and stay in that middle ground, stay in that gray area. And I know this is fucking, like I said, it's metaphorical. I mean, we don't have any way to discuss moral values and ethical values except by the stories we tell. So because these things don't exist, they're just concepts. And if we could all just come to the middle and say, I'm going to be more understanding of everyone. I'm not going to go Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm not going to go Jimmy Swaggart. I'm not going to do this shit. And if I see myself drifting towards an idea, the thing that should alert me to the fact that I'm wrong is I start denouncing people. If we could stop doing that, you're wrong because you don't believe like me. If we could stop doing that shit, this world will be a lot better. But like I said, that's never happened. That's never happened. It's always been like this, and it always will be like this until we come to some sort of global realization that we are a singular organism drifting through fucking space, guys, and we're arguing about oil and gas and prices, and we're murdering each other over ideas. It's not ever going to get good. But I'm trying to be good, and that's where we come back to that beginning. Life is meaningless, and it's only what the meaning is what you give it, and the enjoyment is what you believe is enjoyable. So we're all in this
Yeah,
together, but we're all alone at the same time.
that's true. Come alone and you leave alone.
That's right. That's right. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too. I would say though that the one thing that I've never really liked, or not never, but that I've grown to like not like as much is I hate those like blanket over like simplification oversimplified like statements.
Right.
Especially like politicians, I hear them say them all the time. Like like it's okay to like disagree, or like we could still be friends even though we have different views,
Yeah.
or like it's just an opinion, like those like super blanket like generic statements. And I think what we should be doing is going more like into the details, because I think they matter. you know
Right.
just because, oh, my opinion's different. Okay, but what's your opinion? Oh yeah, my opinion is I think we should like kill all the gay people.
Right. And then that's when you get to let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Why? Yeah. I totally agree, man. I totally agree.
So every time someone ever says that to me, like, oh, we just have different opinions, or oh, well, I'm not allowed to like have my own opinion, or we're not allowed to disagree. I always push back on it, like, well, okay, well, what's your opinion? you
Yeah.
know
If we talked about it, maybe we could work it out. And I have believed ridiculous things in my life, and I'm sure you have too. And some of them were childish, like Santa, and some of them were complicated, like God. So, but if we all sat down at a round table, if we all had a like a round table discussion kind of mind, it's like, oh, we just disagree. Let's agree to disagree. No, let's not do that. Let's find out what we believe, and let's find out how we believe, and let's find out how we can accept each other's belief systems. Or somebody needs, we both need to back down a little bit. Maybe I could be more understanding if I stop saying all gay people need to be killed, and then I look at it and then I find out that the only reason I want gay people killed is because I'm gay and I hate it. I'm a closet homosexual. I think all homosexuals should be killed. Uh-oh.
Hey, you'd be surprised how much uh, homosexuality is in like religion, or in like the religious like institutions.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. I know. I think the one of the funniest statistics that I've ever seen in my life is in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Southern Baptist Convention had their big the Southern Baptists had their big convention in Atlanta. And at that point, every hotel in Atlanta, their sales of pornography skyrocketed during that. And I think that's the funniest shit. That's like every religious person in the Southern Baptist community showed up in Atlanta, and all the porn sales skyrocketed. Can we have a correlation here? We are out there preaching against shit that we're doing. And that's what makes religion so terrible. It's like pornography will send you to hell. Excuse me while I go jerk off to this porn during the break. So
Very contradictory
it's
or
very
ironic.
ironic. It's good. It's That's the definition of ironic. Alanis Morissette got it wrong. It's not about finding a spoon when all you can find is a knife. Well, dude, I do appreciate you. I got to roll.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Sounds good.
I think this is the podcast that we've always wanted to have about religion. It just went there. And that's what I love about our podcast, dude. It's like I sat down here this morning. I had nothing. I was like, whatever. It's just a discussion. I think our podcast is like a discussion between friends. And I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's what I'll call that. A discussion. This is a discussion of religion amongst friends. There you go. I titled it. Have a good week, man.
Before it even got the title, before it even ended.
There it is.
It's got to be like some sort of record or something.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Have a good week. What you got going on this week?
I just have homework today, and I'm gonna watch just football.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to watch football, and I'm going to work on my 100-day challenge. I'm going to change my life again, just because I can.
That's always good.
It is, man. It is. We're much more malleable than we think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can change our habits, and we can change our beliefs, and we can change our ideals. We can change who we are, man, and it's simply a fucking choice. That's it. And I wish people understood that, but they don't. And maybe that's what I can teach people. You can change your life. You don't have to be a miserable motherfucker all your life. You can just change it. Have a good week, man.
You too, man.
All right. Later, brother.
Later.
You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly-wrong@gmail.com or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.